approve these projects to go into these neighborhoods. As you mentioned, Amazon Fresh is gonna be, increased traffic there, and you've got the 50 units from the Klusic property. Those two driveways almost face each other, turning left in and out of those shopping centers and onto Fruit with the oncoming traffic from Foothill, plus the units on Amherst near Williams. I mean, we're talking about 200 additional cars in there. So having a traffic study done isn't an answer as to how it's going to be handled. Putting another signal, I mean, that would be the 8th signal within 500 yards from the freeway to the high school. There has to be some line that the city draws and say, okay, you know what, even though this is a plot of land that's available, no more development can go in this particular neighborhood. What do you as council people say to something to that regard, to that level? Because our neighborhood is just completely saturated, yet they're talking about building more homes over on Baseline.
Mr. Bowen actually kicked the can to start the rolling process and brought it up. And at first, I was very hesitant and reticent to say, I don't want to break up the city at all into any districts. But as I did the research, I realized that we had no defense. So we needed to break it up into districts, or somebody could push us into districts, as I was describing in my opening. And I decided that for fair representation for our city, we needed to have 5 districts so that each district would have one voice on council. With 4 districts and an at-large mayor, one district, wherever that mayor lives, that mayor then doubles the number of votes in that district. So if it happened to be down in the area where I live, if the mayor was at large there and I was on council, then that southern eastern portion of Laverne would have 2 votes on council, and each of the other districts would only have 1. Yes, the council is working on the entire benefit and on behalf of the entire city. However, voting does matter, and representation matters even more, because that's why we vote. And to make sure that every resident feels equal franchise in our city, it's important to have each resident know that they've got a representative on government, not, in some cases, 1 when others have 2. So that's the reason I chose 5. And I think it's fair, and I think it's representative. If indeed Santa Monica changes the world for California so the California Voter Rights Act is changed and modified, we as a council can look at it, talk to the residents and see what the temperature looks like at that time to see if the residents are interested in changing. For this change, because the California Voter Rights Act, we couldn't put it on a ballot measure because that would subject us to a potential lawsuit. We needed to do it as an action of council, and that's why we chose 5. Now, one of the other things the mayor said was, and this is another primary reason why I wanted 5 council members with the rotating mayor, as Tim had supported up until about 2013 or 2014. I see it, but I need to finish this conversation. Just like in council, I need a few more minutes, Mr. Bowen. I need a few more minutes to complete my thoughts. So I don't know. You don't often say I'll need 3 extra. You just say I'm going until I'm done, and then we say okay. So I'm just going to complete the thought. So thank you. As the mayor had said, 1 mayor with 4 council underneath them, and then everybody else under. That's not our formation as a local government. We have 5 equal partners that work together, that need to collaborate and drive consensus and collaboration. That is so important, and that is really what has happened recently is our mayor thinks that he's above us. Because in council meetings, he would bring up an issue and he'd say, I want you to support this, and we'd say, why? And he'd say, because I'm the mayor. The other piece the mayor said was that one person has special relationships with higher ups. That's a bunch of hogwash also, because I talked to Grayson Napolitano about the bridge, about funding, about housing, about water. I talked to Senator Anthony Portantino about public banking and access to banking funds for people who are not being banked right now. I talked to Chris Holden about the issues that we face in this area. So it's not just the mayor that gets to talk to these people, it's each and every council member. We're not going to edit this. This is not going to be edited. I'm done now. I just had to finish.
Would you please sit down?
Both of them found that the district was a necessary element. Is that not correct?
Let me address, no. I can stand for myself. Let me address your first question. It's an email, but all public emails, all emails from the city to and from are public records. Is that not correct?
Yes.
Okay, so they're public records.
Okay, but I didn't ask to see it. That's, I mean, you're sharing something, whatever, go ahead.
I'm just saying, it's a public record.
Okay.
He brought my name up.
Right.
All I'm doing is responding, telling you what
What's
his
your
answer
point?
was.
But you're a moderator, you're not supposed to be a person.
What's your point? I'm the chairman of the committee.
Okay, then you should get out here and have a moderator.
So, just Joe.
Follow-up question. So, given that, Mr. Mayor, it threatens your position as mayor, and Mr. Davis, it threatens your candidacy, based on the lack of community engagement, what would you do different forward to ensure that the temperature check was more appropriate given the outcome, and that most candidates have used the district voting issue as their first point to address?
Of anything, I think I've done a great job as mayor. But for 29 years, John Wilkenstaff was the mayor of this community, and another 12 was Don Kenner. And so all of a sudden, we go away from that to a 5-district with non-elected mayors. Seems a little silly. When it was put in 1972, the voters put the right in to vote for a mayor. And I think that we kind of passed by that. Whether I'm mayor or not, I'll serve this community in every aspect of it, whether it be north, south, east, and west. They all get my attention. And I, as a mayor, I served the community and made sure that they kept up, make sure we kept open. And as far as the council, we were all informed of what was going on. My statement was the fact that I was elected. It was a tough election, as you all know. It wasn't easy. And I think that we've done a very good job having an elected mayor. You can go to any council member and ask any question. But as a figurehead, it's nice to have someone that goes to all these functions, that does have associations. And we all have associations with our electeds, our higher electeds. But I think that the community was disservice when the 5-district took that election process away from them. Never take elections away from people. Never take their voting rights away. And as far as the Santa Monica decision, if that changes and it goes in favor of not having districts, absolutely. We need to revisit that and check it out again and see what's going on. Do it legally, make sure we don't get sued, which we don't like.
Amen.
In answer, Joe, can you repeat that again?
What would you do differently to ensure that everybody was informed?
I think I've done it already. As far as mayor, as far as a council member, I think that's one of the things that you have these different councils or different districts. It doesn't matter what district you're in, you serve this community. 5-district, you serve every single aspect of this community. If someone has an issue, you address it. You take care of it. You get it up to higher management, or you can discuss it if you're on a committee, 2 people, you can discuss it and figure it out with management. Whatever department it is. Generally, when I get a question or somebody has an issue, I push it off right to the department that needs to take care of it. Guess what? It gets handled. We're a full service city. We handle it. We love our residents. And the employees take care of our residents.
So I would like an answer from Muir,
Right.
because it was the Muir too.
So-
What would be different?
In this day and age where so much information is floating around, I actually think we had good engagement. It wasn't all at City Hall. I was meeting in people's parks, at their homes, talking about districting. I have not used districting as my #1 issue. I've used sustainability and making sure that we're looking for financially sustainable, active transportation sustainable, keeping our public services local sustainable, to make sure that we can have creative solutions for providing the services that Laverne residents want to receive and that our services can provide. I disagree with my council when they keep talking about your vote is the most important thing. It's not the most important thing, although voters' rights is very important, but voting is all about gaining representation at the various levels, at the local level, at this county level, at the state level, at the national level. It's representation that's the most important thing, and it's not God-given, as some people say, it's constitutionally given. And we need to pay respect to that Constitution and not run over it like some people do in a crazy fashion. But If Santa Monica prevails, then I'd want to have a conversation with everybody. I agree with what Mr. Bowen said. My response was, I think it's going to be divisive. Our city was divided, but once I realized we couldn't stave off this thing and just say, no, not Laverne, we're going to stay at large. Once I realized that that was not an alternative, that somebody could sue us into it, it made sense to move forward into that divisive territory. And to make it the least divisive, I wanted to make sure that every resident had a representative on council, not giving one district 2 representatives on council, because that would only exacerbate the divisiveness. Because this decision was not made for this year, or 2 years from now, or 4 years from now. It was made for 50 years from now. And 50 years ago in 1972, the reason that the measure was brought up in the first place was there were people out there that were concerned that some section of Laverne had too much of a coalition of 3 people working on council for a small group's benefit, and they wanted to divide that up and make at least one of the 5 council members more accountable to the residents. And that's why they chose to have a mayor run every 2 years, not every 4 years, because they wanted to have more of a mix-up. How did that work? Not so well, as Tim just said, because Blickenstaff was the mayor for 29 years. Don was the mayor for a long time. So the effort in 1972 to start mixing it up, because Mike Morales was the first elected mayor in 1974, did a fabulous job. The council at that time was doing a fabulous job, but some residents were concerned about a little bit too much elbow-to-elbow kind of stuff that they thought might be happening. Was it? I doubt it. Laverne's done a great job from a local government perspective. Can we get better? Absolutely. And we're looking at trying to, and the reason I'm running is to try to make sure that we gain that sustainability and stability moving forward. Not in this year, not next year, but 5 and 10 and 20 years from now.
That I was elected mayor, not maybe happily by a number of people in the community, because that wasn't Don Henry. But I did win handily, and I had a very good campaign. It was a very clean campaign. I'm very proud of that. I had wonderful people running my campaign. But it's just funny how we go to a 5-district voting system, and that vote's taken away, and then you can just rotate a mayor. Mr. Davis, you should run a campaign for mayor sometime. Not the easiest thing in the world. You have to prove yourself to your community. And then when you are mayor, you have to prove yourself again and again and again. Those mayors that served, they did a great job. But our community has changed, and it was time for some changes. Communities change, and they need change. You must change with the times. And quite frankly, I think I've done a great job. But again, when you go to 5-district voting, you took away that. And it's not the easiest thing in the world. I'd like to see you run a mayoral campaign sometime. Not easy.